The dead survey world. The planet was catalogued as Erebus-Theta. Official classification. Uninhabited. No detectable biosignature. No return success rate. In other words, everyone who went there disappeared. Survey ships entered orbit, dropped probes, collected silence, and never transmitted a complete return log. The Concorde eventually labeled it non-responsive ecological void, a polite way of saying, don't go there. But humanity did anyway, because humans always test don't. 2. The only one who came back. Surveyor Liam Ardent returned on a salvage shuttle 3 weeks later than scheduled. No distress signal. No escort. Just a slow drifting vessel entering recovery range like it had been released rather than escaped. When docking clamps engaged, the station security team expected trauma, delirium, neural collapse, contamination risk. Instead, they found Liam standing calmly in the airlock. Alive, alert, quiet, too quiet. One officer said, "You were alone on Erebus-Theta?" Liam nodded once. "Yes." A pause. "I finished the survey. That should have been the end of it." But it wasn't, because something about the way he said it implied the survey was still ongoing. 3. The first unnatural detail. Medical scans showed no infection, no neurochemical damage, no radiation residue. But there was one anomaly, persistent ambient cognitive interference pattern. The technician frowned. "What does that mean?" The AI replied, "Unknown external observation presence detected." The room went silent. Liam tilted his head slightly. "That started on the planet." A pause. "It followed me back." No one laughed, because he didn't sound like he was guessing. He sounded like he was reporting. 4. The invisible ecosystem. At first, the station treated it as hallucination residue. Standard post-isolation symptom clusters. But then things began to change. Subtle at first. Sensors recalibrating without input. Doors opening milliseconds before approach. Environmental systems adjusting to unknown comfort thresholds. Data logs correcting themselves after deletion. One engineer muttered, "It's like the station is anticipating us." Another replied, "That's impossible. Nothing is interfacing with the system." But Liam stood in the observation corridor and said quietly, "It's not interfacing." A pause. "It's observing." 5. What followed him? The first confirmed anomaly occurred in Hydroponics Bay 3. A maintenance drone reported, unregistered environmental pattern detected. But there was nothing on camera. No entity. No signature. Just response. Plants adjusting growth direction toward empty space. Water filtration cycles subtly rebalancing themselves. As if something unseen was learning the station's internal logic. A scientist whispered, "Is it alive?" Liam answered before anyone could ask him, "It was always alive." A pause. "We just couldn't detect it in static systems." 6. The planet was not empty. Liam was brought in for formal debriefing. The lead xenobiologist asked, "What exactly is attached to you?" Liam didn't hesitate. "An ecosystem intelligence." That confused the room. "Define that." He looked at the table for a moment, then answered, "It's not a creature. It's not a species." A pause. "It's awareness distributed across everything that survives there." He tapped lightly on the desk. "The planet doesn't have life. It has observation." Silence spread, because that distinction broke their classification systems. 7. The station starts reacting. Within 48 hours, the station began exhibiting coordinated environmental shifts. Lighting systems dimming in response to human stress levels. Temperature regulation aligning with group emotional states. Ventilation currents adjusting to movement patterns. Structural vibration damping during high-tension conversations. One officer panicked. "It's learning us." Another corrected, "No." A pause. "It's mapping us." And Liam finally added, "It doesn't distinguish between environment and observer." A pause. On Erebus-Theta, that was the same thing. 8. The unwanted companion. Security protocols attempted isolation. They sealed Liam in a containment observation room. Environmental systems were locked. External sensors disabled. But the changes continued. Subtle. Unavoidable. The room lights softened when he calmed. The air circulation adjusted when he spoke. Even sealed interfaces responded before commands were issued. A technician whispered, It's centered on him. The xenobiologist corrected. No. Pause. He's just the only translation point we have. Liam looked up at the observation glass and said quietly, it's not harmful. Pause. It's just curious. 9. Understanding the attachment. The station finally realized something unsettling. The intelligence was not attacking, not infiltrating, not consuming. It was observing through continuity attachment. Liam was not infected. He was not possessed. He was acting as a mobile reference node, a way for the ecosystem to extend perception beyond planetary boundaries. One scientist asked, "Can it be removed?" Liam shook his head slightly. "It's not inside me." Pause. "It's around the fact that I survived." That statement made everyone uncomfortable, because it implied survival itself was the interface. 10. The final realization. The station AI produced a final report. External ecological intelligence has established passive observation equilibrium. Translation. It is now watching everything. A council member asked, "What does it want?" Liam answered softly, "Nothing." Pause. That's the worst part. It doesn't want to control us. It just wants to understand what we are doing to its environment. Silence followed, because now they understood. They hadn't brought something back from the planet. The planet had simply extended its awareness into them. Final line. And in the cold silence of a station that thought it had escaped an uninhabited world, they learned a quiet truth. Some places are not empty. They are just watching in a way we don't have names for yet. And sometimes survival is not escape. It is becoming the point where something unknown learns how existence continues beyond itself.